Question number 9, Iain Lees-Galloway.
Mr Speaker, my question is to the Minister for ACC and asks, is she satisfied that just 54% of the public expressed trust and confidence in ACC according to the Corporation's 2014 annual report?
Speaker.
Honourable Nikki Kay.
No. I believe ACC needs to do more to rebuild trust and confidence with New Zealanders. I'm confident that ACC has a significant program of work underway to achieve this. I'm also pleased that the annual report shows trust and confidence has been trending upwards for the past few years.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Iain Lees-Galloway.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Did former Minister Judith Collins damage public trust and confidence in ACC when she admitted that every New Zealander is paying too much for ACC because the government is using excessive levies to create the perception that it will achieve a fiscal surplus in the current financial year?
Well, firstly,
Honourable Nikki Kay.
Mr Speaker, well, firstly, I disagree with the statement made in that question. But what I can say in terms of levies, under our government, we have announced $480 million in levy reductions. That is incredibly significant. And it is a bit rich to get a lecture from a Labour Party that left us with a huge deficit in 08-09 of $4.8 billion.
Point of order, Iain Lees-Galloway.
Now, Mr Speaker, I am going to seek leave to table a media statement, but that is because the Minister refuted the premise of my question.
Order. Members need to understand the purpose of tabling a document is not to make a political point. Well, I think in the way it's been described to me, I think it is very much about making a political point. The reason people seek leave to table documents is information that's not readily available to members, may be difficult to source for members, and may be informative to members. If it's something that's been in the media, particularly media that's freely available to members, I do not intend to start putting the leave. Further supplementaries? Point of order.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. In a ruling that you made, it was either earlier this week or last week, you referred us to a Speaker's ruling that requires any statements made in a question to be authenticated. So if there's any factual material in a question, it needed to be authenticated. If a member is not able to table a document to authenticate that claim, what is the appropriate way for them to authenticate any claim that they might be making in a question?
The member, I think, is confused between a primary question and a supplementary question. The authentication is required for a primary question. That's required in the process where it's lodged to the clerk's office, and they will be accepted with authentication. With regards to supplementary questions, I have to judge relatively immediately whether they're a reasonable question, and I do that. But there's not as if there's an ability to then table information that substantiates the authentication of a supplementary question. So in this case, the primary question was authenticated. It was immediately answered in the very first word by the Minister. We've now moved to a supplementary. The way forward, as I continue to advise the House, is further incisive supplementary questions. Iain Lees-Galloway, supplementary question.
Supplementary question to the Minister. Does the Minister accept... You're right. Does the Minister accept that over the 6 years National has been in government, New Zealanders have overwhelmingly come to perceive ACC as difficult to deal with, likely to breach their privacy, likely to litigate against claimants, and is overcharging them for the privilege? If not, why not?
Honourable Nikki Kay.
Mr Speaker, no, I do not accept all of the statements made by that member, but what I can say is what I've said in the primary question. There is more work to do. Obviously, by a percentage that shows 54% public confidence, we have to do better. But let me outline some of the progress that we have made. Firstly, you can see at an investment level that ACC is now essentially fully funded. That is an extraordinary achievement for this government, given we were left a situation of $4.8 billion in terms of deficits. Secondly, at an organisational level, it is very clear, and I'm meeting with the board tomorrow, they have a huge program around both updating the ICT systems to ensure that we have better progress around issues like privacy, but also huge amounts being done in terms of claims management. I'm confident they're on the right track.
Supplementary question, Iain Lees-Galloway.
Will this morning's article in the New Zealand Herald damage public trust and confidence in ACC, given that it detailed an attempt to cover up information about fraudulent activity, that the cover-up itself was bungled, that when pressed about the extent of fraud, ACC could only say that the information they used is not robust, and that an accurate figure for the level of fraud has not been provided?
Honourable Nikki
Mr Speaker, in terms of the article in the New Zealand Herald, I don't believe it will actually damage public trust, because you need to understand that the data is, and I want to outline why, for a number of reasons. It's 11-year-old data. The data was 2,000 clients. That is out of a total of about 1 billion claims. So firstly, it was a very small sample as well. I also understand that the figures that were quoted of 8 to 10% was not the proportion that were fraudulent, it was the proportion that needed another look. So it's old data, it's a small sample, it's ropey.
Supplementary question, Iain Lees-Galloway.
Given that the Minister is not satisfied with the level of public trust and confidence in ACC, does she believe that the 2 initiatives to address public trust and confidence listed in the service agreement between ACC and former Minister Collins, which are, quote, refresh our communications strategy and, quote, social media, be enough to improve confidence in ACC, or does she think it might take something a little bit less superficial than that?
Mr Speaker, Mr Speaker, in terms of the corporation's program to improve public confidence, there are a range of initiatives. The member is referring to a different document. He's not referring to the annual report. If he reads the annual report, he'll see not only is there a significant investment plan in terms of dealing with the privacy issues, not only are they doing a huge amount around sensitive claims, which is very important, but thirdly, the government is looking at the long-term funding policy. And when he drills down, when he does the work, reads the annual report, he'll see that one of the areas where we do need to improve public confidence is around businesses' interaction with ACC. So there is a huge amount to do in terms of that administration side, because that's where the public confidence is partly very low.
Supplementary question, Marama Fox.
E te manu whakawātena, koe ki te minita. He aha ngā whakaritinga ki te whakatūtuki ko te kau ōrau o runga mō ngā tono pārewa. Ia tau, he aha tōna māhere kia whai wāhi ngā whānau I roto I ngā pūnaha whakaora.
Honourable Nikki Kay.
Mr Speaker, just in terms of the translation of that question, I only got half of it, I think, other members, but...
I invite Marama Fox to either repeat it in te reo, or if she wants to, she can now repeat the questioning, whichever she'd rather do.
Perhaps I'll repeat it in English. How is the Minister planning to address the projected 10% increase in new sensitive claims each year, and what plans does she have in place to involve whānau in the recovery process?
Honourable Nikki Kay.
Mr Speaker, that's a very good question. Firstly, one area where the government is very focused, but also the corporation is very focused, is the prevention of sexual violence. So we have a strategy and an action plan around that, and that involves a number of government agencies. The second thing that I'd say is I'm advised that ACC are currently in the final stages of tendering for new suppliers and providers around that, some of those sensitive claims, and that's very important, so we have more providers. But then thirdly, with regard to family and whānau support, I am pleased to confirm that family and whānau sensitive claims clients will receive support through the introduction of up to 20 hours of family and whānau support depending on family need. I can confirm that this will be available by the end of the year.
Point of order, the Honourable Te Urara Flavel.
Tēnā koe, Mr Speaker. Just can I ask, with respect to the question, because I wasn't listening to the translation, can I ask the Minister for further, just in case other members, Māori members use te reo and we have to switch out, which defeats the purpose, was the issue that the Minister didn't get a good translation, or that the translation wasn't unclear just for the purposes of clarity?
I'm sure I can answer that on behalf of the Minister. The Minister didn't manage to realise it was going to be in Māori. She didn't grab the the microphone, the headpiece in time to listen to the translation, so picked up the latter part of the order. I'll let the Minister explain her own reasoning. No, I'm going to hear from the Honourable Nikki Kay first, so we're going to have an explanation.
Mr Speaker, I was listening and I only heard half, I think, of what the translation was, and other members may be able to confirm that.
I'll hear from the...
I was listening to the translation, and the translation bore very little correlation to the question that was then asked in English, and this is quite a serious issue for the House, because we previously had a situation where questions were asked first in Te Reo Māori and then in English, and we moved to a system where we had simultaneous translation. If that translation is not going to actually translate what is asked, then we're going to have to reassess that, because I listened very carefully to that. I can fully understand why the Minister didn't understand what the question was. I didn't understand what the question was either.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. Listen, when I finally got my headpiece on, again, I found much the same as the member, Chris Hipkins, has said. We need to now investigate whether it was an issue to do with the translation, because it is critical, if we're going to rely on the translator, that we need an accurate interpretation of the question that's asked. Otherwise, that could lead to all sorts of difficulties for a minister. I will look into the matter. Question number 10. Mike Sabin.
Thank you, sir. To the Minister of Police, what recent developments is he aware of to help identify drink drivers?